Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So we know what polynomial functions are now, alhamdulillah. To work with polynomial functions, we need to develop some skills, so to speak. We need to master some mathematical basic skills to be able to work with polynomial functions. And one of the skills that we need to really know is the properties of exponents and how to work with algebraic expressions with exponents. So a good part of this chapter is developing these skills that we need to work with polynomial functions. The climax of this chapter, in fact, is near the end when we take all of these skills that we have learned, such as working with exponents and synthetic substitution, finding zeros, etc., and then applying that in working with polynomial functions. So we have to patiently and methodically develop these skills, inshallah. So much of this I believe you probably already know, so it would be a good review, inshallah. So we're going to enumerate the properties of exponents that we have learned previously. For example, a to the m times a to the n, as you know, is a to the m plus n, right? So now these properties are given names. So now we're going to learn names of these. Okay, this is product of powers. Okay, so this is product of powers. So this property is called product of powers. Okay, that's the name of the property. I'm just going to say product of powers property. Okay, now, and then we learned a to the m to the n, if you recall, and this is a to the m times n. Okay, so this was product of powers property. The second one that we're going to learn is power of a power, right? Right. So this is power of a power. So it's a product of powers. This is power of a power property. So this is power of power property. How cool is that? Okay, that name. Okay, power of power property. Now this one, which we also know, a times b to the m. What do you do in this case? A to the m times b to the m. This is kind of like the distributive property, right? Okay, so this property, however, is called product power of a product. Sorry, power of a product property. Okay, now to me, obviously, it's more important correctly how to be able to use these properties and then know the artificial names, but the names are important and they all obviously make intuitive sense anyways. This is the power of a product property. Okay, power of a power property. Okay, so let me say, okay, power of a product, okay, power of a power, okay, and product of powers properties. Okay, so excuse me. So these you have to know. If you don't know, you just look it up. This is section 2.1 actually. Now, when we know this one, a to the negative m is 1 over a to the m, right? Where a is not 0, obviously. A 1 cannot be 0. Okay, this is important. It does not equal 0. This is the negative exponent property. Okay, and we also learned this one, a to the 0 equals 1, right? And a does not equal 0. Okay, and this is easy enough. What do you think it's called? Zero property. All right. Okay. And there's two more here. I'm going to squeeze these in because I kind of want all of them to be on like one page. Okay. so I'm going to kind of artistically squeeze the next two one in. All right, so a to the m over a to the n. This is a to the m minus n, right? We know this one too, right? This one's called quotient of powers property. Quotient of powers property. And finally, is a over b to the m. This is like kind of distributed property again. A to the m over b to the m, right? So this is kind of like, okay, power over, yeah, you guessed this one, I'm pretty sure. This one's called power of a quotient property. Now, all these names are pretty intuitive, I believe. So, but you should please pay attention to this and repeat this. Try to say this to yourself several times, and be comfortable with them. Okay, just as a summary then, I'm just going to write the rules over here. A to the m times a to the n equals a to the m plus n. Now, can you tell me, without looking at your notes perhaps, what this is called? This is the product of powers property. That's the product of powers property, POP, product of powers, if you want to say. Okay? Product of powers property. And then we have a to the m to the n is a to the m times n. This is the power of a power property. This is POP2, power of a, okay? So that's this. That one we learned. And then we have a times b to the m is a to the m times b to the m. So this is the power of a product property, right? So power of a product property. All right, and then some easy ones. Let's do this one. A to the negative m equals 1 over a to the m, and a cannot be 0. Okay, this is the negative exponent property. Okay, a to the 0 equals 1. Okay, again, a cannot be 0, and this is the 0 exponent property. Okay, and this is a to the m over a to the n is a to the m minus n. Okay, and this is the quotient of powers property, quotient of powers property. And finally, a over b to the m is equal to a to the m over b to the m. It's like a distributed property. It's power of a quotient property. Okay, so these are some properties of exponents that we need to know and be comfortable with when working with polynomial functions. Okay, so I just want to do some examples over here, just from the book. Negative 4 times 2 to the 5th, all of this to the second exponent over here. Okay, now you can distribute this, so to speak, and that is this property is called what? Power of a product, right? Power of a product property. So it's going to be negative 4 squared times 2 to the 5th and squared. Okay, so negative 4 squared 16 times. Now this one, what property is that? Power of a power property. So that's 2 to the 10th, right? Okay, so this is 16 times 2 to the 10th, and this apparently is, if you do that in calculator, 16,384. I did that one, of course, visually by looking at the book. Okay, now here's another example. It's given 11 to the 5th over 11 to the 8th, okay, to the negative 1. Okay. Now this is interesting because obviously there's more than one way of doing this. Okay, if you have this negative power, right? So if you have like x to the negative 2, this becomes 1 over x to the 2, right? and then you have x over y whole thing to the negative 2, you can just flip the whole fraction. It will be like y over x to the 2, right? You can flip the fraction. So here I would just flip the fraction. Okay, that's what the negative does. So this is 11 over 8 over 11 over 5th, and this is 11 over 8 minus 5. This is 11 cubed, okay, and this is 1,331. Okay, these are just some examples. All right, so I wanted to do let's do this one from the book. X to the negative 3 y cubed, okay, squared over x to the 5th and y to the 6th. Okay, there's sometimes more than one way of doing these. The way I would do this one is I would distribute the 2 over here. Okay, power of a product property, power of a product property. So now I get x to the negative 6th and y to the 6th over x to the 5th and y to the 6th. Okay. When I have negative exponents, I like to bring them down. Here I can see these two cancel. Okay. So 1 over x to the 5th times x to the 6th, and this becomes 1 over x to the 11th. So that's how I would do that one. Okay. In this section, there's a review of the scientific notation. Okay, let's do that, and we'll finish inshallah. Scientific numbers are like this, right? So scientific numbers are basically two component numbers. The first one being a number between 1 and 10, not including 10, and the second number is some exponent of 10. So this number is in scientific notation. 32.56 times 10 to the negative 8 is not, because this has to, the decimal place has to be over here for this to be in the scientific notation. Okay. When you multiply scientific notation numbers, for example, like 8.5 times 10 to the 7, that's a scientific number in a scientific notation, and times 1.2 times 10 to the 3. What you can do is you can multiply these together, okay, and then you get like 10.2 when you do that, and then you multiply these together. So that's 10 to the 7th times 10 to the 3rd. That's 10 to the 10th. Okay, all right. But now this number is not in scientific notation, so we have to move this decimal one place like this. Okay, so this becomes 1.02. When you move the decimal one place, you are dividing this by 1, right? To do this, see, so when you take that number and make it into this number, when you're moving the decimal, so to speak, you're dividing this number by 10, right? So I have to multiply this number by 10 to make it the same thing. So that becomes 10 to the 11th. Okay, so to go from here to here, you're dividing by a 10. So right, so you're dividing this number by 10. You just can't divide a number, right? So you divide this by 10, you have to multiply this by 10, the numerator by 10. So that becomes 10 to the 11th. Okay, so the answer here is 10 to the 11th. 1.02 times 10 to the 11th. So please review this section, and this is the first section. This chapter section 2.1, and be very, very good at it, inshallah, and then we move on from here. Until then, as-salatu was-salamu ala rasulillah wa rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum.